So usually at this moment in our Friday night Shabbat service, I give a dvar. It's a Hebrew for talk. And usually I mention whatever is going on in the Torah and go completely off base and do all kinds of crazy things. But since this is a kind of a welcome to our community, Shabbat, I wanted to do something that has everything to do with Kabbalah, because this is the identity of Bet Aleph. So I chose a very light topic. We're going to talk about soul. I'm going to do this on one foot and very, very quickly, obviously. I've taught entire courses on just that topic, so you're going to get the footnotes. But it's an important topic. It's so core to Kabbalah because I think it will explain what I've been trying to say since the beginning of our time together. So I'm going to start with flipping something on its head for you. Because most of us have grown up with the understanding that I have a soul, right? Sounds pretty normal. Any kind of theology that we maybe have come across has reinforced that notion that each of us has a soul. And actually that is completely and utterly wrong. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. And that's what Kabbalah does. Kabbalah invites us to flip the narrative. Because when we say, I have a soul, we introduce a duality that doesn't exist. There's an I over here that owns something over there called a soul. There's a big ego here that thinks it owns a thing called a soul. I, me, myself, and I have a soul. What the Kabbalah is teaching is that this I is actually the last manifestation of what we would call soulness. So imagine in the beginning, there was the possibility of you being born, which actually also is not a real sentence, but we're going to go with it because right now it's okay. In the beginning, there was a vast void within which the possibility of you coming into being already was seeded. And from that seed came a first concentric circle, very small. And that is the first manifestation of soul, what we call in English soul. Hebrew doesn't have a word for soul, by the way. It's like the Eskimos with how many names they have for snowflakes. Hebrew doesn't have the word soul. It doesn't understand that. There are 5 words that may be connected to the word soul in English. Because in Jewish mysticism, there is no such a thing as one soul. There are 5 layers. And the first layer is called Yechidah, that innermost concentric circle. Yechidah means oneness. It is that which emerges out of, well, I'm going to qualify that in just a second. But for now, it is that which emerges out of the totality of being. That immense, unfathomable, eternal void. Birth is Yechidah. Birth is that innermost soul, Yechidah, oneness. It's that part within us that is completely merged and connected. It's not other than the absolute totality of being, but it's taking a first shape within that. It's like a little dot on the movie screen, right? That's not a bad analogy, because the dot seems to be different than the screen if it's just one dot, but it's not separate from the screen. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, good. And then that dot expands to the second layer. And the second layer is called chaya. Chaya actually has life. It's chay, lechaim, chaya, lechaim, to life. Chaya is the level of soul that becomes the embryo to our soul. It's the first alive, living soul. But it's still on the screen, right? So from the little circle, now there's another circle around it, but it's still on the screen. It's not different than the screen. The third layer of soul is called neshama. And that comes from the word linshom, which means also to breathe, which is interesting. It's like a breathing soul. It's the level of soul that kind of is the border between the absolute nothingness and the complete somethingness. It's the bridge. In terms of spiritual evolution, is first stage enlightenment, first stage awakening, is when we start to really understand the truth, the true nature of our being and of the universe, right? So on the ascending part, it's the soul of awakening. So you can also understand it's not soul, but it's like maybe levels of consciousness, states of consciousness. And then there is the next concentric circle around, and that's ruach. Ruach means wind.